Okay. So that was my piece for orchestra that was played in March this year as part of the orchestra composition workshop of the SWR Symphonic Orchestra in Stuttgart. And what I want to talk today is, so I improvise a little bit the title of this piece, of this presentation today, because I was a little bit in a rush at that time. And then from the future to the past, had to try to find out what was I trying to say with this title exactly. But strangely, this is not so much different than what my process of composition is. So I'll try to share that in the best way possible. So I have two pieces for orchestra, for symphonic orchestra. They both were played in the context of a workshop. The first one is lindes, that means like roughly field boundaries, like the line that divides two pieces of terrain. And the one we listened just now is called roto, what means broken. But also in Chilean dialect, I'm from Chile, it has a connotation of something peripheric. After these two pieces, I will talk a little bit about Curupu, the piece that Ensemble Abeceda is going to play this Thursday. So let's go. Probably I'm guessing my composer colleagues or my musician colleagues will understand playing a concert or composing a piece, and after the concert having a slight feeling of failure, like if I had maybe one day more, if I had 1 week more, it would have been better. But this is often not the case. So so we have to bear with this feeling of failure, but it helps in the process of going to the next piece. This makes also the possibility to reframe the old pieces or old failures and make the past a little bit have the fluidity that we usually give to the future. And when I'm talking about composition as suture, I don't know how it's pronounced, sutura. You know what this is when you have a wound that has to be sutured, and then you have and then you have a scar, so a scar tissue. So I'll just keep going. Okay, I really hope that Alistair would be today, because he's such a Lacanian enjoyer. But yeah, I'm somewhat of a noob, so just bear with me, okay? I'm trying my best. So as I understand, Lacan understand a signifier as a chain of sounds, if coming from Saussure. So in this very open definition, we can also imagine a chain of sounds is not so far away from what we do when we compose music. So yeah, chain of sounds, for example, when I say I am hungry, because of course the lecture today is at 1, so I have not had lunch, what's maybe a big failure. I shouldn't talk when I'm hungry. And also he refers this to the primacy of the phonetic over the visual. that we understand the signifying chains as something that is understood through the body, but precisely through speech and sound, as a speech, and in difference from the image or from the moving image. So in difference from the moving image, also from the still image, has this illusion of unfolding and linear movement. So I have here a little example. So if I say look, then maybe.
Is this okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, but now I don't have my mouse. Hmm? The what?
The keyboard.
No, yeah, but I was like
okay.
pointer.
Then leave it like this.
Like if I have this look, the only word look, maybe we can have, it means like if I tell you look, it's like look somewhere, look there. If I say look out, now it means like be careful, comes a car, I don't know. Look out for, it's like maybe it has to do with interest. If I'm saying like look out for your team, then I'm saying like, okay, support. And if I say like look out for your teammate, then it means something else, and so on. So the idea of what Lacan is trying to say is that only when we finish the sentence, we understand what the first word actually meant. So we are like rendering every time the whole thing from back to the beginning in order to understand it. My friends, the people that here speak German will maybe remember famous Rammstein song Du hast. Like, you're du hast, blah, 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 etc. So the fluidity of the past. So if I say I am hungry, if I say I, it maybe means something weird. What is that? Also I am. But so the thing is we are building a sequence that is unfolding in time. If I'm bluffing correctly, Lacan says we need at least 4 sounds in order to already make a signifying chain. Especially when we are babies, we tend to, or when we have a baby in front, the baby cries, and we try to interpret this cry. So it's to understand this, it's important to know the difference between the inner world and what is difficult to translate in English is the Umwelt, because we have the inner world, that's like the Innenwelt, the outer world, that's the Außerwelt, but then there's the Umwelt, and the Umwelt, that's usually translated as environment, like has to do with the way we perceive the world and is specific to each species. So let's say the Umwelt of a dolphin is really different from the Umwelt of a fish or a human being, because even though the Außerwelt is the same. So yeah, here we are seeing that we have the sequence, but the meaning actually goes back in time. So for some reason this is blended. I forgot what I wrote here, so I'll just go to the next one. So this person here is Morton Feldman, one of my favorite composers, and he's really drunk playing cards in a train in the good old times when we could actually smoke in trains. And I will just read the quote because I find it's really charming. So he says, music will always have a great past, never a future, because, you know, as a child, I remember that on the New York subway, it was always good to stay at the end of the train and to watch how you entered the station at the last moment, looking back. I think that is music. So, strangely, even though Feldman was calling himself like an anti-Hegelian and stuff, he's here being really Lacanian in his own style. Then he goes on saying, I think that there is something in music that is not visionary. No matter how much people might talk about the music of the future, there is something in music that seems to only appear when looking back. So this image of being sitting in a train in the last wagon as a child, looking back at how you enter to the station as the definition of what is music, may help us to actually, or may help me myself to actually compose music. Okay, so this intro, now let's go to how actually my composition process goes. So, you know, there's when you're thinking about sex, they usually say that the best two things about sex are the drink before and the cigarette after. So in this sense, what I most enjoy about composing is actually the moment before actually writing the scores, when I'm doing the sketches. Then comes the score that is very hard writing, if you know what I mean, sitting on this and just doing the mission of the work. And then the cigarette after is the concert. So that's the best part. So I call them autoerotic machines. So, for Freud, there's like 3 moments, and the autoerotic is the moment when a small baby is still not into language. So it's just a potato that drinks milk. And this potato makes sounds. And even though it's not part of language, it can nevertheless feel pleasure. Like you can see them drinking milk until they're full, completely full, and then even puking everything, and then drinking again. Like enjoying things that are at the same time part of themselves, but they are out of their bodies. So the autoerotic idea is a kind of pleasure that is where the self does not exist. So it's just the Umwelt as such, without the subjective position. So when I was working on the first symphonic piece that we haven't heard, I was thinking of we were talking of this baby, the body of a baby that drinks milk. So the body of an orchestra that in a similar way also makes sounds. So, but how can we really work on this body from a compositional perspective? Also because it was my first piece for orchestra. And also because I was living in a really small apartment, so actually my table was not able to have an orchestra score. So I had to come to terms with finding a way to reduce the composition to a small table. Also because when you are working in the computer to transcribe your scores, you cannot really see the whole score, and that's really annoying. So I was just playing, and So language is an inscription, and then for the Lindes piece, I was thinking about the body of the orchestra and just started cooking, let's say, and I just established three forms of sound. So the one that I called aura is like is the question: can you, when you listen to the sound that's coming, can you identify the source of the sound? Like it's a violin, is it a group of violins, or are you not understanding what is happening, like a really mixed combination? Then comes the spectral aspect, like what is the proportion between noise and pitch. And then we have like the flow that I was like thinking of the already classical Webern melody of timbres, like what is is it moving or not in this orchestral body? Also, is the thing that is played by the violin, is it moving? So it's not a development idea like working with the material, but just of the position of the sound in this. So okay, you can understand these sections of opposites. You can happily place them on a cube. Like you have one side of the cube is all that we may call them like noise, not an identifiable source and not movement. And then in the other cube we have pitch, like clean pitch, then a clean movement and a clear source of sound. So in my first drafts, I had actually a Star of David, but my friends were making so much fun of like Wagner jokes that I opted for the cube. The thing is that you have only 8 possible combinations of this thing, and this is what I call the machine, the autoerotic machine, insofar that allows for a compositional process before the body. So these sounds have not an instrumental body. It's just a pleasure without the body. And then I can simply have the 8 categories as the 8 phases of an octahedron, and comfortably place them as a percussion voice, and then I can just write this independently in a very small notebook. And then, as I said, the hard work comes from the orchestration process as a completely separate process where I just have fun just doing the thing. And this is why I called it the autoerotic octahedron. Yeah, maybe we had time for a small joke. So it's called Ramiel's Cry. So I don't know if you are acquainted with the anime Evangelion. Yeah. So this place in Tokyo in 2019, Tokyo was destroyed, and then come the angels and finish to destroy the world. And one of these angels is Ramiel, that curiously is also an octahedron, and it makes weird noises like a baby. It comes like singing. This is the sound. I'll just show 1 minute.
目標内部に高エネルギー反応。
なんですってまさか避けて
I just want to show the moment when it cries. Did you listen to that? I'll play it again. So actually this weird octahedron cries like when it shouts. So the parents in the room will know the violence of autoerotic subject is capable of with their own parents. When a baby just starts shouting and doesn't let you sleep until you give it what it wants. So that's yeah, it's funny because for me, every time I try to say a joke, nobody laughs, and when I'm talking, really serious stuff, then everybody is like, "Oh, what the fuck? This guy's joking." Yeah. So let's go to the next piece. That is the piece that we already listened to. So what was the failure of Lindes? It was the, sorry, I'm a little bit late, just 5 minutes more. So I had this constellation of sound bodies, but then after I finished it, I was like, okay, but maybe it could have had a little bit more structure, I don't know. So then I built another autoerotic thing that I was just playing. I took a poem that I really, really liked and just said, okay, I will just take this and just play with it. So the poem has like 211 verses from the poet Ingrid Christensen. And I just went for the verses and extrapolated 2 series of numbers, the number of words and the order of the syllables from the words. So, for example, here we see every single has 10 or 11 syllables. But how Christensen is composing this is really weird because sometimes you have like 5, like really big words, and then you have like 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 2, 2, etc., etc. I don't know if you remember from the piece we heard. Sometimes you would listen to the timpanist doing like boom, 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 boom. So this was actually literally the thing, the numbers. So I just put the numbers, I wrote it in the percussion voice, and after that I just went composing whatever the hell I wanted, doing the work. So this, you know, when you go to sex therapy, the therapist will tell you, no, but do 5 minutes of this, then do 5 minutes of that, and then do 5 minutes of that, and then suddenly you say, this is so stupid, let's just do it. So I'm doing like 5 minutes of doing 2 months of just numbers and series and whatever. And then after, when I get bored, I say, okay, I'll just start composing the piece. So you see, I just wrote the last row of 14 words. So every one of these numbers is associated with a series of so if it's 5, it's actually 5 numbers. So 1, 1, 1, 1, blah, blah, blah. And so I made this piece. So it's 14 sections, and each section has these proportions. But then I felt it was so dry. So I don't know if you remember, there were some very tonal chords in the middle of the piece that were like appearing a little less in the beginning and then more at the end. So this is what I call the intervention. So I just, after I had the piece almost written, I was like, maybe I will just intervene it with the tonal chains. And I just played like, okay, we have 14 sections. I will put 14 chords in weird places. And then after the concert, after it was written, I was like, okay, but maybe this intervention could have been better. So for the piece that you are listening at Thursday, that's called kurupu. That's Japanese for something like empty loops. I did another of these machines with giving a little bit more order to the tonal structure. So I made these numbers represent the intervals. So the point is the central tone, and the one at the left is the interval to the left and the interval to the right. And so we build clusters of 3 tones. Okay. Here, for example, with C in the middle, we have these 8 clusters. And then we can say, okay, one of these groups of 3 is now one note, like do, re, mi, blah, blah, blah. So we have a kind of, we can build a kind of scale of 10 different clusters. And after that, we can just keep composing like whatever we want, also with tonal things. And for this one is what I had to actually do the Excel thing. So you see here we have in color the central tones like A flat, E flat, B flat, F, C, etc. We have the mode of the cluster like 1 1 2 1 1 2 2 2 3 1, etc. And we have the interval of the cluster like, okay, it will be A flat in the middle, 1 1, and it will be doubled with a major 6. So then I just started playing like, okay. And so came the thing, and that's what we are trying to find out how it worked in the concert. And for the piece that I wrote for harp solo for Urca, I just applied a similar idea, but with microtones. So the advantage of working with microtones is that when you transpose them, they have an absolute different quality. So you can go back to the tonal composition style and just play absolutely the same, transposing in another tone, and it will have absolutely different quality. So, yeah. So, I found this quote by Francis Bacon that is very special because he says, I want a very ordered image, but I wanted to come about by chance. So if he was doing a portrait of you, before doing the portrait, he would just drop a random paint on the canvas, and then from this random thing, he would say, no, but here is, the order is already there. So he also said things like, every morning when I sleep, I'm really surprised. Like, this means there is a suturing moment when we wake up. Like, that's really weird. So then comes the suspensive points when it's the moment to write the pieces. If you want, you can ask questions. You can watch the scores after the presentation of Klara. So please.
All right, we're doing acoustic. Questions for Max?
I can tell you the story of my life if you don't have. Yeah, so no, let's use the time to take a look at the scores. Yes, come here and peek.
It's a big score, huh?
Yeah, these are actually the scores that were used for the premiere, so are my little treasures. Yeah, so if you want to listen to the old one, to the 19 piece, you just go find it in YouTube or in internet.
Which program is this?
Sibelius? So every single section is one verse that is condensed. So, for example, sometimes if you see the triangle will be doing the 1, 1, 3, 2, 1, 5, something like that. And then all this is just having fun. Huh? Yeah. For example, here is really clear when it's happening. You just follow the timpani. Pa-pam, pa-pam. That's the series of the poem. And then these interventions are like just contingents. It was just the prime number, like it happens on the third one, and the 5.
So these are kind of rewritten in different ways then throughout the piece. These iterations of the rhythm. They're developed in different ways.
Yeah, because sometimes the verse always has 11, but sometimes this 11 is in a span of 2 minutes, or sometimes it's really short. Yeah, and then come the tonal shifts. And just injecting them. Yeah, for example, here is just, if it's the number 3, then plays 3 times. If the number is more than 5, then they play 6 or something.
Where's the Ava transcription? The Ava Angel transcription.
No, that was a joke. It was like, hey, I know this octahedron from somewhere.
Was this the score the conductor used?
Yes.
How did you do it? It's like just pages.
Actually, the how do you say the thing? The binding did my wife, because I did it and it was so horrible. She was like, "Give it, I will do it for you." She's really perfectionist.
A2. A2 paper.
Okay. And this one is much more raw. Like here, I was just doing the strokes, like of the movement between the orchestra. Yeah, maybe some orchestration stuff here. I was really unhappy with the bassoon. Maybe here works a little bit better.
You have here these
Hello, I'm Klara, and today I would like to talk about extended piano techniques. I have been focusing on this topic a lot in the past year, especially when writing a piece that was performed today. And yeah, today I would just like to share some insights with you. At the beginning, just to let you know, this lecture will be taking place in 2 parts. The first one will be here, and then we will go downstairs to the piano and check the preparation things by ourselves. Of course, preparation world is really huge, so we cannot sadly talk about everything, but some main points will be discussed here. At the beginning, I would like to say some thoughts about creativity. John Cleese said that there are five factors how you can arrange your life to be more creative. For the first time, I came in contact with this idea when I was studying in Ljubljana at Music Academy. My professor, Vito Jorai, was always very eager to teach us all of those stuff. And it really helped me, not just in music, but in every process, everything that I do in life. And it can also maybe help with researching a lot of new sounds, especially when we are talking about preparation. So, John Cleese says, the first thing that we need to do, or that we need to create, is space. You can't become playful and therefore creative if you're under your usual pressures. That means that we need to put aside all of the distractions that we have. Then there is time. We need to hold this space for a certain amount of time in order to live in this space. The next time is giving your mind as long as possible to come up with something original. The most creative professionals always played with the problem much longer before they resolved it. So this additional time, when we are allowing ourselves to play, is the most important in creative process. Then we have confidence. Nothing will stop you being creative so effectively as the fear of making mistake. And this one is, I'm dealing very intensively every time that I compose something with this confidence or mistake problem. But it's a very nice way to look at life when we just think, okay, we are in a playground, we are just playing, there's no right and wrong, we just do our stuff and we are just playful. And the last factor is humor. Humor is here in order to make us open. So yeah, that we operate from that open mode instead of closed mode. And with keeping that in mind, I think that piano is one of the best playgrounds in music. So we will be talking a little bit more about that. As first thing, I would like to just quickly talk about various piano techniques. Of course, we know conventional ones. The world opens with unconventional ones. And somewhere on the border between conventional and unconventional ones, we have some special keyboard piano effects. And then with extended techniques, we can have active or passive ones. With active, here it is meant everything that we use inside of piano. At the one hand with hands, and on the other hand with some additional objects. And all of the active extended techniques, we can put them away in a moment. So they are not here until the beginning and from the beginning until the end of the piece. And on the other hand, we have passive ones. And here we will be talking about prepared piano techniques. So all of the stuff that are from the beginning until the end there. Today I'm focusing on 3 groups. The first 2, I find it very interesting because we as a composers, we always have this hit of reality when it's not always possible to prepare a lot, when we simply cannot get a piano in order to research the sound. We can, with some of the special easy techniques, do something very interesting and research the sound also in a very new way. And then the last group will be prepared piano. And about prepared piano, we will be talking a little bit here and then the most of it downstairs. So we are beginning with special keyboard and pedal effects. Helmut Lachenmann is one of my favorite ones when it comes to those special keyboard pedal effects. When I was a new student in Karlsruhe, I needed to do a subject, clavier, and my professor, Markus Stange, was a specialist for extended piano techniques. I didn't have any clue about how to use piano more than in a conventional way, so he gave me to play ein Kinderspiel, child's play. And I think it's such a beautiful cycle of pieces where it's musically very interesting and also technically you can learn a lot. So a very good combination. And yeah, I will be talking about those techniques through his music. The first one is an interesting way to use sustain pedal. Maybe we just hear small part of the piece Filter Swing. Yeah, so the whole piece is very similar. And the idea here is that sustain pedal is pressed actually selectively. The keys are pressed selectively in combination with sustain pedals. So this is not something that we are in contact every day with conventional techniques, but it is a nice little, yeah, like a salt in a soup. Then the next one, one of my favorite ones, is silently depressed notes. We can use them in many, many different ways. But maybe just a quick word about those notes. They are pressed, yeah, like the word says, silently. So pressing the key without making any sounds. And those kind of things, we can make a choice which overtones would we like to hear in an echo. So maybe a small part of another part of the filter swing. And so on. Then, of course, it can be used also in another way when we are pressing the key very loudly and right after it silently. And when we are pressing, another very cool effect is when we are pressing the lowest keys, like a cluster. It also makes a very interesting echo. Okay. Then I would quickly like to just talk about some string techniques with hand. Henry Cowell is one of my favorites in this, when researching those kind of things. We can interact with string alone or in combination with string and keys. So here is a small example of how to interact only with strings. The piece from Henry Cowell, the Banshee. And so on. Another very beautiful example is also from Cowell, Aeolian harp. That's a very nice combination between glissandos and silently depressed notes. So yeah, let's just hear this one. And so on. Now the other group is interacting with string and a key together. We can play mute at the beginning of the string or harmonic. With harmonics, there is always a little bit of a confusion with notation. So it's good to maybe know the difference between the partial numbers and overtone numbers. So when we are notating, those numbers are not the same. For example, yeah, as you can see here, the third partial is actually the second overtone. So we need to always notate very clearly what do we have in mind. And another interesting piece from Cowell is Sinister Resonance, also with a lot of harmonics and mutes. Then we come to the next two groups that we will not be talking about a lot today, because those two groups are actually only imagination is limit. We can do anything. We can throw almost anything inside of piano, and it's a really limitless place of exploration. Like you can see here, a lot of different things. But we will be talking about prepared piano techniques. And the first one to do that was John Cage. Actually, he got a commission for a new piece, and he wanted to write something for a little bit bigger ensemble. But the hall where the concert was performed was too small. It was only as big as for one grand piano. And it couldn't fit a percussion ensemble. That's why he got an idea that maybe he could use a piano in a little bit different way in order to have to become more percussive sounds. So he wrote a piece, Bacchanale, and that's one is here. And so on. As you can see, it's a really minimal piece. Of course, he wrote a lot of other pieces that are more complex with preparation. In order to prepare, we always need to know some basic piano mechanics. There are different models of piano. My personally favorite one is Steinway, Grand Piano D. I think he has the most access for reaching the strings. And when composing, it's always good to know for which piano are you writing, because you can't access every string on every model. So yeah, keeping that in mind. There are also other mechanics or other stuff to be careful about. And those are sensitive parts of piano. There are two of them, dampers and strings. Dampers are really the most sensitive and delicate, because if they are damaged, we cannot repair them. We just need to buy new ones and replace them, and that's always very, very expensive. So we need to avoid touching them, and always when we are using strings or preparing strings, always press the same pedal in order to lift them up. The second very sensitive part are strings. They are very sensitive to rusting, and especially when we are playing inside of piano, our oil from hands is very damaging for strings. Especially the bass strings, they also have a copper winding, so it's even more sensitive. And now to one of the most important things when preparing. As said, we always need to lift the dampers when we are inserting new objects between the strings. We could use also like a popsicle or a fine piano tuner mute in order to separate the two strings a little bit wider and to be able to easier insert a screw or any object between two strings. We want to always avoid friction between string and the object so that we do not damage a string. With bass string, there is always just one string, so we cannot place anything between anything. And because of the copper coat, we need to use only soft materials, so no metal. Also, the next rule would be that we should never strike the string with object as hard or harder than the string itself. So there should be a caution when choosing material, especially because we have a lot of different metal materials. So we need to keep in mind which metal is harder or softer. And as said, on the lower strings, we should never use metal, and on all the strings, we should never use anything that leave a residue or any kind of marks. This is like a very quick overview what is meant with hard or soft materials. With hard materials, we have different types of metal, glass, and wood. Medium materials are plastic, coins, and uhupatafix. This is this white thing that you can use to glue something on the wall, and it doesn't leave any mark. And then, of course, soft materials like rubber, fabric, paper. You can never go wrong with soft or medium materials. You should always be careful with hard ones. And as said, especially with metal ones. With upper strings, brass or the softer materials are very good to use. And on bass strings, we can't use anything. Even though bass string is made of copper, and theoretically softer materials are aluminum, tin, and lead, still copper is such a thin layer that we can damage it very, very quickly. So that's why we say simply nothing on bass strings. Very often we also need a special frame for the score in order to have place to use the inside of a piano. And as almost the last thing what I would like to talk about here is also the markings. Sometimes with preparation, so much happens that it's good to mark the positions on the string. And with string, we should always use just a chalk stick because we can very easily brush it off with some brush, and it doesn't leave anything permanently. It doesn't change anything with the string. The most caution must be used with dampers. Here is the most damages happen really with dampers and marking the dampers. It is always a good idea to use post-it notes and to not press them, but just put them on, for example, the first one, this is the wrong preparation. It's damaged, and everything needs to be changed. You can't remove that, without damaging. Here, also, post-it notes are maybe a little bit too pressed. Maybe just the last pink one is a good one, so we can easily just put it away. So once again, extreme caution with markings and the dampers. As the last thing would be cleaning. After we are done with practicing, again, lifting the dampers and remove all of the objects in the same way that we put them in. We need to clean all of the markings, so chalk markings with toothbrush, and all of the strings we need to clean also with dry cloth because we need to remove the oil from the hands from the strings. When we do not do that, then the strings with time rust. Of course, inside we should never use any water or any other liquids. I didn't mention before, but when playing a lot inside of piano, it is maybe a good idea to use the gloves so that transmission of oil is really, really minimal or almost not here. That was quickly about do and don'ts. And now I would kind of like to invite you to the downstairs where we could actively look at the preparations. Thank you.